Hey Craftiana, so today I'll be showing you how I customize this wine glass. As you can see, it's glittered with a blinged out stem and a nice rhinestone trim. It has a name decal in the middle of this and it came out so cute. Don't this color look cute? This hot old pink. And I also used the new Flint Sisters Fast Set Epoxy. It was my first time using it, baby. I do like it, but let's get right into it. Okay, Crafty, and I got my wine glass, I got my foam insert in there, I got my epoxy rod handle up in my wine glass. I'm taking some electrical tape and I like to slant that at an angle and I'm going to end up forming a V. I like to take that slightly longer than I need it to be, and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, and I'm trying to make that V even as possible, and I'm going to cross it and intersect it so it has a little hang time and form the X. I like to pull my electrical tape and cut it slightly over the rim of that wine glass, not too far, not too long, because too much excess will get in the way when you go to epoxy. I don't want those issues, okay? As you can see, I'm on the back of it, and I'm going to put a little sliver of tape from each point of that top tape, okay, Crafty? I'm taking it across the back of it, and I like to do this so I won't have glitter there, and I can go back and get a good seal over that glitter when I go to epoxy it. Now I'm taking my craft knife, and I'm just cutting that at an angle at that 2 points and create that nice sharp point for our little V, okay, Craftiana? Because that excess will get in the way, and we don't want that. We want a nice sharp V, okay? Now it's good and ready to glitter. Oops, I lied. Rewind. I'm going to put a little piece of tape on this stem because I'm not glittering all the way down this stem because it will have a rhinestone stem with the rhinestone trim. So I'm taping that off up pretty high because I don't want glitter down my stem, and I do this because you can glitter the whole wine glass, the stem and everything, but I like to tape it off and not glitter that part because once you go in, especially with the silver rhinestone trim, I don't want that pink glitter peeking through, and the silver and clear rhinestone smash that clear wine glass better, okay, Craftiana? It just looks better instead of having the pink glitter peeking through. Now I'm using this neon pink glitter that I got from Hobby Lobby, and I'm going in with my gloss Mod Podge. I use gloss Mod Podge. I got this one from the Dollar Tree. I ran out of my big one, so I had to order another one. It came, but I always keep one of these little Dollar Tree ones on backup. So I'm putting some Mod Podge in the confines of my tape, on the back of that tape, and I'm making sure I stay in the confines of that tape, and especially on that stem as well. Once I got that all fully covered in glitter, in Mod Podge, I'm gonna dump this glitter right on top of that wet Mod Podge, and I'm gonna tap the bottom to get some of that excess glitter off. And once I got that fully glitter, I'm going to pull that tape off while it's wet. You don't want to pull it off when it's dry because it runs the risk of pulling up all that glitter. So after I let that first coat of glitter dry for a good at least 20 to 30 minutes, you want to make sure it's fully dry. I'm going in with another coat of glitter. I'm putting some Mod Podge on top of there, and I'm making sure I stay in the confines of those lines, keeping those lines crisp and clean, because I don't want glitter outside that lines. We will lose our shape, and we don't want to lose our shape. As you can see, I'm staying on that stem, staying in these lines, that all that I created with that tape, and I'm making sure I keep that glue where it needs to be because we don't want no raggedy wine glass. So after that, I go dump and pour that glitter right on top of that first coat of glitter. And then we have 2 coats of glitter, and as you can see, it looks a lot more fuller. Now I did 3 coats of glitter. You can do 2. You can stop at 2 because as you can see, it looks pretty full and it looks really healthy right here. But once that glue dry, you will be able to see the full color. So I end up doing 3 just for good measures and good safety, okay? I like a full effect. So as you can see, that's 2 coats. I end up doing 3. I just repeated the same process. After that's fully dry, all my coats of glitter is fully dry. And when I say fully dry, Craftiana, let it sit for a while, a good while. I would recommend at least 24 hours to be safe. You don't want no wet Mod Podge when you go to epoxy because that just ruins the shyness of your epoxy. So now it's time to put our first coats of epoxy on. I got it on my cup turner. I got this cup turner from MH Turners. So I'm taking my electrical tape and I'm just retaping it off the same way we did it when we created that V. I'm just outlining that glitter and leaving a thin gap of space between that glitter and that tape. I mean the ever so smallest gap, because we want to make sure that we get a full enclosing and encasing of that glitter. But we don't want that epoxy spreading all over our wine glass because that's just not a cute look. We just want it covering that glitter. We want it to look nice and neat. We want it to look nice and professional. We want all those things. So we tape it off every time we go to a fresh new coat of epoxy. So this is the first coat. coat, and after this I will do a second coat and a third coat. I do 3 coats in total. But before every coat of epoxy I put on, I put this electrical tape down, and as you can see, I'm not on top of the glitter. I'm just right off of that glitter, leaving the tiniest gap. So also I put it on the back. That's why we put that tape down there initially, to leave that gap, and I tape off that part too from the back of it, because I want that glitter fully enclosed. I also don't want that epoxy going inside the wine glass. Just preventative cleanup, so I won't have to go up and scrape it up and clean it later. I'd rather do it now and then later, okay? And I'm also taping off the bottom part of this stem, because I told you I don't want epoxy down there either, Craftiana. Cutting that, make sure you leave a little tab where you could pull that up on that stem, because they do get tricky. So I'm using the Flynn Sisters Fast Set epoxy. I'm mixing equal parts A and B epoxy. So I did 15 milliliters. I did 7.5 of part A and 7.5 of part B. Mix that together really, really well. This is heavily sped up. I mixed that really, really well together for about 2 minutes until that was fully incorporated. Now, this is a fast set epoxy, and this is a new formula. Things I learned, this new formula is extremely thin. So when I poured it, it got to running, and it almost went past my tape. So I know for next time to pour a little less at a time. Okay, so once I got that glitter fully covered, I'm going in with my torch and I'm popping those bubbles, and I'm removing this tape instantly, because this is a fast set. If I wasn't using a fast set, I would let that tape sit on a little longer and let that epoxy set up a little while longer. So I did 3 coats of epoxy. I repeated that same process over and over. I waited 2.5 hours after that first coat, let that harden, and then I moved on to my second coat, retaped it off, and did a third coat after 2.5 hours of that second coat, spinning and turning, and same process over and over. And after that third coat, I let that dry overnight, and that's when it became dry to the touch. Now I'm taking my Razzle Dazzle, my Cling the Bling glue, and I'm taking this SS16 rhinestone trim. I got mine from Planet Rhinestone. I would prefer you get it from not prefer where you get it from. You can get it from Amazon or Planet Rhinestone. I'm using the size SS16 or SS20. I prefer you use the size SS16 or SS20, because it just gives it a bolder look. If you use anything smaller than that, it's a really thin chain. So I'm just giving this an outline, and I cut 2 pieces. I recommend cutting one side at a time. Don't do 2 pieces like this, because I had to go in and add some extra to this other side. You just want one full strip. So you line that up, just lining the outside of that glitter and where the epoxy meet, and covering that little seam. So now we're going to go up this trim. I'm taking my rhinestone trim. I put a roll of glue down there first, and I'm just taking this rhinestone chain and wrapping it around the bottom, getting close to that edge as possible, making sure it's nice and straight. So I did that first roll, let that dry for about a good 10 minutes, because I want that first row of glue set before I start pushing this rhinestone trim up in there, because my next row will be next to it. And you just repeat the same process. Glue and wrap, glue and wrap, putting it, ooh, why am I getting tongue tied? Putting it as close as possible to that initial row. You want it as tight as possible. So I like to cut my chain instead of just spiraling it up. So after each circle, I like to just snip it, and I take it all the way up until it meets that glitter. I don't take it all the way up to the bottom of that chain. It just depends on how deep my V is. But right until it meets that glitter. And once it start getting too wide, it won't look right, Craftiana. So I have my Miss Crickiana cut out this decal, and I'm just vernishing that on this transfer tape and rubbing that on there. And I'm going to put this name decal up on this wine glass. I like to put a name. You don't have to put a name, but most of my customers request a name or some type of wording on their wine glasses. And as you can see, I'm over here fighting with this dang vinyl, and this vinyl came from Hobby Lobby. It's a silver metallic vinyl or silver foil vinyl. I'm not sure which one it's called, but yeah. So I pulled that up on my transfer tape, and I'm just laying that on here. And be sure to have a clean glass before you put this on it. Wipe it down with some alcohol, let that fully dry, and then put your vinyl on there, so we can have the best chances for this vinyl lasting for a lifetime. Okay, Craftiana. So I'm making sure that's nice and neat, and I'm doing 2 words. It says, I don't want to get docked for saying that word, but it says, yes, something slim. But I'm putting the first word down, then I'm gonna go down with that second word, because this wine glass is a curve, and working on curved surfaces like this can be tricky. So I like to do 1 word at a time, burnish that down, then pull that up and let the second word fall down. naturally and where it's supposed to sit, because this transfer tape will cause some blockage, and we just don't want those issues. Just let it go smoothly, okay, Crafty? And as you can see, I'm just taking my time getting that down and making sure I hit these curves nice and right, because it will mess up your vinyl. You will have crinkles in your vinyl, and that's not a cute look to me. I don't want that look. I'm sure you don't want that look either, Craftiana, okay? Once we got our decal on there, it's good and finished and ready to go. We want to let all this cure. We want to let our epoxy cure. The Flynn Sisters facet epoxy has a cure time of 3 days. I think that's 72 hours. I went to public school. They didn't teach me all that. I'm not no mathematician. I'm just a crafter, okay, Craftiana. So the vinyl needs to cure for 3 days, and this clean the bling glue with the rhinestone needs to cure for 24 hours, I believe, is that cure time. Let it fully cure before you give it to your customer or before you use it. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Here's the finished product. Follow me on all my social media platforms at Brand So Crafty, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, everything. Thank you for watching, Craftiana. You better get into it and get into it, okay?